The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, I'd like to welcome everyone back to another KevCAM night class tonight. Tonight, have Greg Payton helping out with any questions or concerns or making sure I'm getting everything answered for you guys. Are you with us?
Good evening, everybody.
And we also have one of our new account managers in here to grab any questions or concerns for everyone. Brian, are you with us?
I'm with you, yes.
All right. So I do see a couple newer names in here. So I'll go over the same rigmarole that we normally do. Just some quick housekeeping skills or housekeeping stuff here. Everybody is on mute just to eliminate any background noise. There is a questions panel for everyone. So definitely if you guys do have questions, type those in there and Brian will read off the question to me or Greg can read off the question and we can get those addressed for you right away. And like with these night classes, these are just dedicated for you guys. So this is laid back as they come. Feel free to ask any questions at any one point in time. Now, every night class is being recorded and is put up on YouTube. So if you guys type in SolidCAM University or type in KevCAM Night School, it should bring you over to the channel and then you guys can watch it there as well. Now, since we want to do these training classes off of what you guys want to know, we definitely welcome your ideas. So if you guys send those over to me via email, and give me 1 second here. And for those of you that don't have my email address, I will put it into the chat for everyone. There we go. So there's my email address in the chat for everyone. Now, if you guys do submit an idea, Brian will be buying you a case of beer. So definitely send those over and we'll send that off to you right away. No, I'm kidding. We'll send you some SolidCAM hat and t-shirt as a thank you for submitting your ideas. So we definitely welcome those as much as possible.
Are you really kidding about that?
Depends on where you're located, I should say. The international ones might get a little expensive front shipping. But okay, so tonight we are covering everything that you guys could possibly want to know or know about pocketing. So we are going to go over some of the new features that are in 2019 with pocketing. We're going to cover pretty much every little option inside of pocketing that is relevant to you guys. There are some functionalities inside of pocketing that are something that doesn't get used hardly ever. So we may still cover those, but just want to kind of cover the stuff that you guys are going to run across most commonly when you guys are using SolidCAM and programming to do with the pocketing. So first thing I want to start off with, I did get a couple comments about setting up vices and stuff like that. So for every night class going forward, I'll just kind of quick go through a quick vise setup. So in here I do have a Kurt vise, which is not mated. So I'm just going to come in here and we'll do some quick mates. Oops. Possibly quick. And mate this to this other vise here. Go to the, whoop, and I'm getting ahead of myself here. Bottom of the part to the top of the vise. Wait a minute, what do we got going on here? I'm gonna have to start all over here. Something so simple. All right, let's get back over to our mates here. Okay, got that one, that one, that one. All else fails, hit the undo button. Okay, so we'll start over here. So mate this face to this vise right here. And this jaw to the back of the part. We'll just set the part on that there. And we'll do a with mate to center up. Okay, there we go. So now we have our vise in there. This is completely optional for everyone, but I do like to see them in there. And by looking at everything, looks like a lot of you guys like to see those in there as well. So we got our vise in there. Now, very first thing before we start anything is we want to get our setup going. So in our setup, it should be automatically put in there for you. So all you have to do is just double click on it. And I don't have a fixture right now, so I can just hit this little 3 buttons right here, and this will add a new vise in there. And what I can do is I have several components of this vise. So what I can do is actually click on CAD selection, and then I can grab highlight everything to my vise here, and then just do resume. And all the components will be grabbed. All right, so we have our vise in there. I'm gonna make sure that my vise is positioned where I want it for our machine sim. You'll see right now, I got my vise sitting into my platter, so I'll go ahead and raise this up. I'm just raising this up using my center mouse wheel. I can go in there and type a number too. Okay, so now we're good. So I got my vise in there, got it located where we want. I probed my X and Y and my Z location right here. So now we can start doing our programming. So the big things that I want to really cover with the pocketing is, or I want to stress with the pocketing, is the smart face technology. Now this should be turned on by default in your settings, but if you guys want to double check, you guys can go to Tools, SolidCAM, and SolidCAM settings. And go down to geometry, and right here is the smart face settings. Make sure this is turned on for your pocketing. This will really help you out, and I'll kind of show you that here. You can do this for profile as well, but if you have that unchecked, I would definitely check it. So on our 2.5D tab, we'll go ahead and grab our pocket. Now traditionally, I think in 2017 and older, any pockets that were set to different depths would have to be created in a separate operation. Now we have the ability to grab multiple different depths inside here. So starting at the top, we'll go with our geometry. So we want to grab new geometry, so we can hit the new piece of paper. And let's just say we want to pocket out this piece, and let's just do the top. And we'll use a fairly large end mill. What we'll do is it will look at anything that is open. So these outside areas right here, these open pockets, it will automatically mark those as open. But then when we have a closed pocket, like on this particular one right here, we have a semi-open. These walls are set to close, and these walls are set to open. What this is telling the software is to have the end mill approach from the outside, working its way up to this area. So we can hit a green check mark once we're happy with our geometry. And you can, I did forget to say that, if you don't like using the smart face or you don't want to click on the face, you guys can come in here and manually click and add chains like any other functionality that we were kind of talking about in profile last week. So you do have the option to do that as well. Okay, so we got our geometry, and we're working on Mac 1, position 1, which is our only one in there. If you guys did have multiple you can grab the different max or different positions in here. Now, we do have the option to do 3D model gouge protection. To me, I haven't had to use this much, but what you can do is you can do a 3D model gouge protection against this model, or you can actually select a different target model, possibly like a configuration inside SolidWorks. You have quite a bit different options right there to do your gouge protection. And if you guys do turn that on, you will get the gouge protection offset. And what this will do is you can define a value by which the tool is moved away from the machining surface. So it's just like kind of like a surface offset to give you a little bit more control of your tool path. Fixture protection. If you're running a fixture, you can turn this on, and what it will do is it will keep my tool path away from that fixture by 100 thou, as it sits right now. Now you can make this whatever number you'd like, but this is just if you have a fixture in the way, and not so much a fixture if you are using toe clamps, bolts, anything like that. You can use that as a fixture, and you can do a protection against that. So really cool, really nice to have. If we were machining the outside perimeter, it will actually go and avoid this jaw on the front and the back to stay away by that whatever distance that you specify there. Cut only rest material. So what rest material is remaining stock, and we'll cover that one real shortly here. But what's going on there is if we come in here and we have a radius of 0.2, but we're using a 1/2 inch end mill, we're still going to have some material left over in that corner. So what we can do is turn on that cut only the remaining stock or the rest material, and the next size smaller end mill will come in there and just nibble out those corners without going through the entire operation and cutting the air. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Modified geometry. So if I want to change up my geometry, I can modify individual chains. So I can go to my advanced modify, and if I want to offset out chains, offset open edges, I can change the chain direction right here. You can, I think that's about it. We can come in here. Yep, that's it. So we can change offset per chain. So maybe chain 1, I would like to have a 10 thou offset, but chain 2, I want to have a 35 thou offset. Or maybe on my open edges, I want it to go extend even further past just on 2 particular chains, or any chains that you guys specify. Now, if you would like to do it for all of them, you can just click the Apply All button, and you can add that in there as well. And then if we do have all chains, if we do have open edges, so when I have each individual chain here, my open edge offset is grayed out because I have control over each chain. But if I go to all chains, then I can just do a offset of we'll say 0.1, 100 thou. So I want that tool path to go out 100 thou past on any open edge. Okay. And then we can put a delta angle in there as well. Tool, kind of self-explanatory, just grabbing your tool, and kind of like what we covered in the tool library class. But for this one, we'll go ahead and grab size radius. So we can grab like a 3/8 inch end mill here. Well, actually, we'll go with a 1/2 inch. So we got some rest material. And we can go ahead and throw a holder on here. Sorry guys, my holders takes a second because I have so many in here. or 2 or 3. Okay, so we are running a 1/2 inch short, and we'll have to push that up in the holder a little bit. So we'll do 1.5. Okay, that looks a little bit more realistic. Feeds and speeds are, you know, whatever you guys would like. Coolant, if you guys are using air blast, flood, sky's the limit on what you guys can do there. Levels. So since we are running multiple different levels now, so the distance, let me turn this off. So the distance from here to the top is 0.59, and then we told that we want to machine this face to this face, which is 0.2. So we have multiple different levels going on here. In the older versions of SolidCAM, you would have to do this as individual operations, but now we have the variable level. So I can come in here, click on variable level, and my chain 1 is right here. So I can click on that, make it associative by turning it green. Chain 2 is going to be this level right here, which is at 196. And we can hit OK. And now it will automatically go down to that level for that particular one, and this level for this geometry right here. Now, if I'd like, I can set up step downs. If you want to take it all in one cut, you can just put this right at 0, and it will just take it all in one cut. Now, technology. Technology, like I've said with profile, is kind of where the guts of everything are. So how do you, or what would you like your toolpath to look like? So we have a couple different options in here for pocketing. We can do a contour. We can do hatch, which is kind of like a zigzag pattern. We can do hatch plus finish, and we can do plunging pattern. Now the plunging pattern works really good for, well, any materials, but especially harder materials. We can always drill faster than we can machine or side mill. So if you guys, especially if you have like a spade drill or something like that, we can plunge through and get the bulk of the material out of there and then come in and do like a profile operation. So you do have that option right there. So for this particular one, we'll go ahead and do a contour. Now when I pick my technology that I want to do, as soon as I click on contour, it will automatically open up the contour tab. So I don't know if you guys seen that, but if I switch over to hatch, this tab will automatically switch over to a hatch. So kind of keep an eye on that. It will stay contained to what you're looking for. So on the contour, do I want to start from the inside or do I want to start from the outside? Do I want to add radiuses in my corners? So what I can do is I can do a fillet, which adds a radius down in here. Everyone can see that radius. Do I want to do a loop? So it will kind of come in there and do a loop and do a circle as it gets into a corner. Or we can just do sharp, which actually does, actually, let me see if I can get a bigger picture for everyone. So we got loops right here, which does little looping circles. And then we also have sharp, so it will come in there and do a real sharp edge, or we can set it to none and it won't do, it will just follow the contour of the geometry itself. So for this particular one, we'll just do none. Climb cut, conventional cut, and then adjacent passes. So when it goes to step over, let me just save and calculate this. I'll kind of show you what I'm getting at here. Our connections right here. So as we move over to expand our pocket out, how do we want it to go to the next step over? Do we want to do a linear? We can set it to smooth. So we'll do like a little S pattern in here. which will give you a little bit of a smoother finish and look in there? Or do we want to do like a rounded, calculate, and this will do a little bit smaller of a, like a S pattern going in here. So, any questions so far? Are we looking good, guys? Okay.
Nothing in the questions panel right now.
Am I missing anything, Greg?
I think towards the end, I'm going to want you to circle back on something, but we'll continue with the flow for now.
Okay. That always scares me. No. Toolpath optimization. So what the Toolpath will do is it's only going to work for specific operations. So what it will do is it will avoid doing tool plunges on stock when it's finishing. It will also uncontrolled tool load when cutting in corners, and then also it will eliminate air cutting when working in tight corners or tight areas. So you guys can have this turned on by default to kind of eliminate all those, kind of help you out more, well, kind of like what it says, optimize your toolpath a little bit. Now, this one right here is if we are going from one region to another region, we can tell it to physically exit the material and come out. And then we can also connect the islands together, and this one, I'll show that one on the next pocketing one. Now, since we're doing an open pocket, by default, since we have those open edges, we should be starting from the outside. I see this one is not. So what we can do is we can tell it to approach from the outside, and then the end mill, you'll see, will start from the outside of the material, working its way in. Now on this top, the top is an open pocket, so it's still going to approach from outside, which is what we're looking for here. Now, if we're coming into a blind pocket like this one right here, we'll do like a helical entry. And then the profile strategy, you can turn this on to set up to do one way or zigzag of what's going on there. The advance is kind of the same thing as what we went through in profile. So we can set up different sorting. We can set up final cuts. We can do wall drafts. We can do tricoidal cutting in there as well. And then the plunge cutting. Now, for some reason, they have plunge in here and in the technology. So I think if you guys are looking to do plunge milling, just come over to the technology section. Okay, now on the main technology section page, so we've got contour. We specified how everything we want to be with our contour. This is how much we're going to overlap on our end mill. So we're doing 50% overlap. We're not doing any rest material. We're leaving 0 on the wall, 0 on the floor, and 0 as an island. So it's going to basically machine it right up to size. Now, if you're looking to a really tight tolerance, what we can do is set up, a 5 thou wall offset, and we can tell it that we would like to finish the wall. Now, do we want to do one finish pass, or we can do 2 finish passes, or also call it a spring pass? So you do have that option right there. Now, on the geometry versus the offset, if you do on geometry, it's going to follow the geometry exactly. But if we do an offset, what you can do is it will offset the tool by, let's see, I'm trying to remember, by half, offset the tool by the radius, half of the radius of the end mill. And just to make sure I'm not, we want to do equal sum of the radius. So we'll actually offset into the corner. So if we use the offset feature, it will stay farther away from that sharp corner, versus if we did in geometry, it would go right up to the radius there. It's not one I've actually ever used, but the option is there for you. Now, depth type. If we have multiple pockets that are requiring roughing and finishing, what we can do is we can tell it to do to finish to total depth, or we can I'm sorry, this one I got mixed up. So the depth, let me start over, is do we want to do a finish pass on the total depth, or if we are doing step downs, it will finish each step down as it goes through. So like right here, we have a 5 thou wall offset, and if we were doing step downs of like 100 thou, it would rough it that 100 thou down, leaving the wall offset on there, and then do its finish pass. Then it would move down to the next level, finish that roughing pass, and then take that one last finish final cut. So you do have that option there. If you're looking just to do a wall finish only, you do have that option right here. And then do we want to turn cutter comp on for our roughing passes or our finishing passes as well? All right. In the link section, how do we want to come into that material? So right now, since we have both of these as a open pocket or a semi-open pocket, it's starting from the outside. So I'm not really too concerned about ramping into the material, but once we get into this blind hole, we'll choose some different options. And then, of course, you guys have the lead in and lead out right here if you would like to add a arc into the material. But like I said, since we're cutting with an open pocket, it's starting from the outside and working its way in there. Now, if you guys are using cutter comp, you will definitely want to have that lead in turned on to have enough time for the machine to turn on your cutter comp. If you don't, you may get the alarm on your machine where it doesn't have enough room to turn on cutter comp or an arc fitting. Greg, what's the error that we're getting on the controller?
The errors are different from machine to machine, but essentially you want to come in on a linear move as opposed to an arcing move. So just keep an eye on how that tool is entering that pocket. As we can see on the screen here, both operations look to be coming in on a linear move, so it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But if you do find yourself, let's say, helically ramping in or doing the arc ramp or arcing into those pockets, just make sure you have a little bit of a linear move beforehand.
To get that cutter comp on, right?
Yep.
Okay, links between passes. If we, in between passes, do we want it to come, if we're just kind of doing a single line geometry, do I want it to come up to the clearance level? We have safety distance from upper level, safety distance from current toolpath, and the level of the current toolpath. So if you guys are going through passes, you have the option right there to change up how high your tool goes up. And then to separate areas, so if when we're going from this pocket region over to this one, right now it's set to clearance. So as I move this around, you'll see from this, well, it's getting hard, this back pocket to this top, it's coming up to the clearance level. So if we want to change it up to the safety, save and calculate, it's only going to go up my safety distance, which is my 78 thou. So if you want to save a little bit of time, not going all the way up, but just make sure you're not going to wipe out any fixtures or toe clamps. It has been done before.
Hey, Kevin. Ronnie had a question about on what move does the cutter comp turn on for these pocketing passes?
Ooh, actually, did I even turn on cutter comp? Turn this on. Shoot.
So to answer Ronnie's question, if you're turning cutter comp on for the roughing passes, it's going to be the first move after the rapid. If you're turning it on for the finish pass, then you're going to get all the pocketing moves. And then when it comes in for that first initial pass for the finishing pass, it's going to come in on the first move of that finish pass. That's why it's imperative to have a linear move for those first passes.
And for some reason, I cannot give you a cheat code right now, Ronnie, to show you. It's like my notepad died. Note to self, don't do a Windows, or don't let Windows do an update before a night class starts. My Skype died out on me, and now my notepad died out on me. Okay. Oh, sorry, Ronnie, I can show you in the actual.
Ronnie, did that answer your question? He's still processing it, so I think we'll move on for right now. We can circle back if he still has questions.
And I'm going to switch over to Solid Verify so we can just kind of see what we've done so far. Okay, so since we have our fixture and all that set up in here, our fixture showing, if we go and hit the play button here, we can see exactly what's going on. So what it did is, something I can't rotate here. There we go. So what it did is came in there and machined everything off. Now, normally my stock would be, we would already profile the outside out. So let me just switch this up real quick. This is kind of a good example because I know a lot of people don't use the stock, the extruded boundary very often. So we'll go ahead and just grab extruded boundary. And then when it's looking for extruded boundary, all you have to do is just chain the outside of your part. And this will treat it as an extrusion, per se. Now we'll go to simulate.
Okay, it looks like what Ronnie was wanting clarification on was the type of motion that the compensation's turned on. We didn't clarify whether that was going to be a G00 move or a G01 move. That's going to be on the initial non-rapid move. So it can be turned on the G01, a G02, or a G03. You want it to turn on the G01. That's why it's imperative that we have that linear move in the beginning, because you don't want it turning on during an arc move.
Awesome. Did a way better explanation than I could have on that one.
With Ronnie's help.
Okay, so I ran it through and we cleared off all our material up there. We can do a stock target comparison, and basically anything that is yellow, we're up to size. Looks like I need to do a floor finish on here because I still have some material on my floor. So what I'll do, and looks like we my 1/2-inch end mill cannot fit through here, as well as on my corner right here, I still have material. So what we can do is we'll go ahead and tell it to finish off the floor, save and calculate, put an offset in here. And now what I'll do is I'll make an exact copy of what I just did, and I can switch this right over to rest. My previous tool was a 1/2-inch, and I'll switch this over to a 1/4-inch. Save and calculate. And now you'll see that 1/4-inch end mill is just coming in here and cleaning up the corners that were left out. So I had this area that was left over, as well as that area where that 1/2-inch end mill could not get through. So that's very simple on how to do the rest material there. Any questions with the rest material? Now, one thing I did forget to tell you is with the pocketing operation, new in 2019, they've added in multi-tool. So what we can do is do a multi-tool, and what I'll do is let me just delete out that second operation. We'll go back to our 1/2 inch one. And if I switch this over to multi-tool, I can tell it that, all right, I want a 1/2 inch tool in there, and I want it to finish the wall and the floor, and I would like to add a 1/4 inch in here as well. And then I also want it to finish the floor in the wall there. So now, this is where we could go to our, where's my rest material? Cut only rest, save and calculate. And what it will do is it will machine it out with that 1/2 inch, and then it's going to look at the updated stock and then come back with that 1/4 inch and mill and clean out those same areas. So with this new multi-tool function here, is it saved you a step of opening up or making a copy and then changing out to that smaller tool, where now you can do it all within one operation. Now, if you want to go back between the two tools, you can just come up here, and this will give you tool number 2. This will give you tool number 3. Now, these tool number 2 and tool number 3 is actually the operation. So for my tool number 2, what it did is it created a operation right here for my 1/2 inch, and my tool number 3, it created an operation right here. So if you want to go back and forth really quickly without having to exit out of your pocket operation dialog, you can just come over here and change up the parameters. So maybe with my 1/4 inch, we're running some harder material. I can't take a step down all at once. I can only do a smaller step down of 100 thou. So now if I save and calculate, we can go in here, and you can see my 100 thou step downs with my nice green puke color toolpath right there. So any questions with the rest material or using the multi-tool function? Multi-tool has really helped out a lot, making it simpler and easier for everyone, at least for what we've heard back at least. Okay, so we got inside pocket right here. So we can go ahead and do a pocket. Geometry, and I want to machine out this and this one. So you'll see by doing the smart face, it automatically recognized that these were islands, and we're going to machine around those islands. So I can come in here, and we'll go ahead and grab that 1/4 inch end mill. And levels, like we talked about before. So we can go to the variable level. 0.59, and this one is, oh, they're both at the same level, so I don't have to worry about it. So now, if I want to take it all in one cut, we can just put 0 in there, and we'll use a contour. But now, since I'm coming into a pocket without a semi-open or open face, I have a couple ramping options. Sorry, everyone. I did on-site training all day, and now I can't talk anymore. Several different ramping options here. So I can do a vertical, which is basically just kind of straight up and down. I can set a point where I'd like it to vertically kind of go down. You can set it up as an angle, and we can specify how many degree angle that we want it to go. And also along with the start points. Helical, which is kind of my go-to. So it's going to do a helical entry going into there and a linear zigzag as well. So I'm going to set it to my favorite, helical, and go ahead and save and calculate. So we can see that it's doing a nice helical entry coming into there, and then it starts its pocketing operation, working its way out. Now, if we're trying to smooth out things a little bit, we can go to our contour and we can set our connections to smooth, so it kind of smooths out our connection passes. If I zoom in here, got nice little connections going on right there, so the machine's not jerking. But that is a closed pocket right there. Any questions with the closed pocket?
Hey, Kevin, can you change the linking features, the ramping, and just show visually what each one is going to do?
Sure.
Kind of go through the vertical. Let's go through the angle.
So let's kind of get zoomed in here. So helical, we can see. Let's do linear. So instead of doing a helical, we're doing a zigzag pattern, working our way down, so we can set that angle and the length of the zig or the zag, however you want to say it. Then we can go to angle, which is going to be pretty much the same thing as the linear, but with linear we can specify the length of it. And angle, we don't have, it just goes based off of the tool size, is the distance that it's going right here. Now, like I said, if we go do a point, zoom out here. So maybe I want it to start over here for that one. So you can see now that I told it to start over there, it's going to come over here and start the zigzag process, working its way down. Yep, and you still have that same option with linear as well.
Now, Ronnie's got a question about the rotate angle under the linear ramping strategy.
So right now, our strategy is going 45 degrees. So if we do, let's try 180 is not going to give us anything that we can see. Let's do 90. And so if we do 90 degrees from the original, so if we want it to go, if we do a 45, let me get a top-down view so we can see this in action here. So you can see our line going like this. Now if I do save and calculate with 45, it's going to kick it off at a 45-degree angle. So whatever value you put in there, 169.
Now let's leave it.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
okay. Let's zoom out a little bit and let's check out the other pocket as well. So it's applying it to both chains, correct, or it's going to apply to all chains that are associated with this pocket operation.
Yep. Now your points, you do have the option for each individual pocket to pick the start point there. But if you're looking to do a zigzag strategy with this pocket and a helical with this pocket, you would have to create two separate operations. So we have no way of dissecting the ramping per pocket. It's going to be all or none. So it's going to, if you have 50 pockets, all 50 of them are going to be the exact same. Does that help you out, Ronnie? And then vertical is going to be our straight down. But what we can do is, if we're just looking for a straight down and I want it to start over here, you can tell it to start there, save and calculate, and it's going to start exactly where I specified where I want it to start. So if you're looking for an exact start point, what you can do is come in here, do right click and do a sketch, and we can come in here, create a sketch point, and I can put it right there. And obviously you guys can smart dimension that. But now, if I go off of that, now I have a physical point I can click on that you guys measured out, and now it's going to start at that exact point. So it's a great spot to do a start location and work its way over. Okay. Trying to think. What else am I missing in pocketing, Greg?
Ronnie has a question about using the chain. I'm not quite sure what that's in reference to. Hopefully we can get some clarification there.
Chain. We'll have to wait for him on that one.
Yeah. So what I wanted to circle back on was, oh wait, here we go. Ronnie's answering right now. So at the point of each pocket, is by using the chain.
Are we still talking in the link section?
Yeah, that's what it looks like, because he's talking about the linear entry.
Okay, linear. Okay.
Are you talking about separating out the pockets? You said that they can be different for each pocket. I believe what Kevin said was that if you were going to do it for separate pockets, you needed to create separate operations.
Yep.
So in that case, you could create the pocket operation for the first chain, do your save and copy, and then modify as necessary for a secondary chain, and so forth.
So if we wanted, kind of for what Ronnie's talking about, everyone is, so on these two pockets right here, he would like to do a linear move, and let me just do save and copy. I'll go ahead and grab a different pocket here. Now, if I wanted to use all the same tooling, same step down, everything like there, that's carried over because I did a save and copy, but now I can go to my link and switch it over to maybe a vertical. And now it will just do a straight down drop on there. Or, if I want to do a helical, if it can fit it in there. Yeah, so I can actually fit a helical in there. So we can do a angle, save and calculate. And now I can do an angle right there. And maybe on this one, I want an angle of 1 degree. So it does a bunch of little zigzags going down into there. So if you want to keep them, if you would like your ramping strategy to be different for each pocket, you would have to create a separate operation, separate pocketing operation for that. Okay. All right, what were you getting at here, Greg?
Yeah, the thing I wanted to circle back on was when you were talking about open pockets more towards the beginning of the class, you do have an open pocket in, I believe it's the upper left-hand corner of this model, if we can zoom out a little bit.
Yep, right here.
Yeah, let's create a new pocketing operation just on that feature. I'd like to get a visual on what changing the angle of approaches for those open sides.
By using the delta angle? Or?
Yep.
Okay, so let me grab a tool here. Check all these. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to our technology contour and, open pocket, approach from outside. Okay, So we're starting on the outside. And if we want to extend 100th out pass, and what would you like in there for a delta angle? Or am I going down the wrong road here? Or did we lose Greg?
You're going down the right road. I think this is good to show the visual before without with a delta angle of 0. And now we can go in and modify that value and show everybody how the toolpath is going to react once we change that angle.
So now we did a 45 degree, and what the delta angle is doing is, all right, so let me take a look at this right here and more over here. So now if I turn that off, it is going to come straight in. So if I turn this on at 45 degrees, it's going to kick our toolpath. Once it goes outside our pocket, it's going to go 45 degree out that direction. If we did a 90, it's going to actually come and go around to the outside of the part, coming around. Is that where you were getting at there, Greg?
Yeah. Yeah, and Ryan's got a question about whether or not negative values can be used to bring that toolpath from the inside. So do like a negative 45 there.
Oh. Nope. Looks like it's only going to go in a positive direction. So you're kind of looking to, so going right here to narrow it up. So
right.
We do.
I think he was just looking for what would happen if you put a negative value in.
Yeah, it looks like it's not taking any negative. Yeah, it looks like it's not changing anything there. Let me just try 90 just to be sure. Nope. So, did I forget the? Yep. So we can't, if we want to contain it. So what Ronnie is kind of looking for is instead of, let me put this back at 45. So instead of it angling out this way, if we could have it angle in this way. Yes, we can, but what it's going to require is just creating a quick sketch. So if we were looking to do that, let me just turn this off. I can come in here. We can do a sketch and do a convert. Actually, no, we can, yeah, we'll just do a convert real quick. And now, oops, normal 2. Come on, mouse, work with me here. Then we can draw a sketch like this. Then now, if we were looking for that exact pattern or to angle in like that, we can go and grab new geometry, and we would just treat this as a close pocket now. So we can grab that, go here, way around, and save and calculate. And now you can see we're angling towards the minus direction, so minus 45.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you showed that, Kevin, because so often we get lulled into this belief that we have to use the features on the model to set our toolpath by. And even I forget from time to time that I have all the tools available to me in SolidWorks as well as SolidCAM to really get the toolpath that I want. So I'm glad you showed that.
Yeah, it's a great point there. So, and don't go off of model. I mean, draw what you need in there. If, you know, we try to incorporate everything into the operation itself. But as machinists, we like to see, we're anal. We like to see our tool path a certain way. We want it to do it that exact way. So if you can't get it that direction or can't get something in there, like Greg was saying, remember, you can just come in here and draw a quick sketch in there and it's good. Now, any sketches I make to this model never reflect back to the original, and it only stays contained to this model right here. So just kind of, yeah, it was good to show that. All right, any other questions? Ronnie's got to have at least a couple more. I'm just kidding, Ronnie. For those of you that are new, that it is a tradition that we have to pick on Ronnie. Okay, so let's see what we did. So we'll go ahead and we'll go to operations and we'll do a full simulate here. We can play this through. So we're probing up our part. Machining off that, the 2 different levels. We're going to do it's doing the finishing here, finishing the floor and the wall. Going to pick up where that 1/2 inch going to get. And if we want to play this through, we can come in here. And so we just probed up our part. And speed this up here. And we have a completely done part except for this hole right here that we can do another pocketing operation on. But I think you guys are probably sick of hearing the word pocket. But with that being said, any questions from anyone at all? Now is the time to ask. Hopefully you guys learned something, but I don't have the questions panel out. So Greg, do you see anything?
There's nothing new coming in.
Okay.
Looks like everybody's pretty satisfied with what they saw this evening.
Well, they could be just not saying anything. Just kidding.
They could be like Brian and sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost did fall asleep there.
Well, it's a 50-50. It was either that or you were out running out getting beer for everybody.
Yep.
You know what? I just finished my beer, so you guys are more than welcome to come over.
All right, everyone. Well, with that being said, we'll wrap up the Pocket night class for tonight. Like I said before, any questions or concerns, definitely everyone in here has my email address. Shoot me an email or give us a call on the support line. Covering for next week, we are going to be doing the webinar here. The 26th, is that next week? No.
Yes, it is.
Is it next week? Dang. Okay. So next week we will be covering drilling, and drilling consists of a lot. So we're talking spot drilling, we're talking drilling, reaming, tapping. All that is going to be inside of the drilling operation for everyone. So we'll be going through all the ins and outs of drilling, and is non-exciting as drilling is. Greg and I will try to make it as most exciting for you guys. So we'll show you something cool.
Now, are you folding in thread milling into that class, or are you separating out the thread milling from the drilling portion?
Yep, we'll separate. We'll show it as a new feature that they added in 2019, but we'll cover the thread milling in a separate class, because that one can be a lot going on in there as well. So, all right. Well, I just want to thank everyone for joining the night class, and especially our repeat customers or repeat night school attendees, and just want to welcome all the new ones that are in here. And with that being said, we'll wrap it up for the night, and we will talk to you guys next week. All right, thanks everyone.
All right, have a good evening.
See you guys.
Thank you much.